Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lindsay Urban, the Director of the Arts Institute of Middlesex County. Welcome to Art and Story Time. Today and all month, we will be celebrating Pride. And we are joined today by our friends at the Civic League of Greater New Brunswick. Please set your screens to speaker view. We are recording this session, and if you wish to remain anonymous, please keep your camera off. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Sean Hewitt, the Director of Youth Leadership at the Civic League of Greater New Brunswick.
Hi everybody, I'm Sean Hewitt, Director of Youth Leadership with the Civic League of Greater New Brunswick. The Civic League is a 76-year-old nonprofit agency that has been dedicated to assisting African American and other minority groups here in the Greater New Brunswick community. We are pleased to be working with the Art Institute of Middlesex County over these past couple of weeks to facilitate and connect youth and community through the arts. It is my pleasure to have introduced several of our young teens to this activity, and we look forward to continuing this partnership. Hope you enjoy the presentation.
Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Today kicks off our Pride Month celebrations for Art and Story Time. So I'm really excited to have you all here today. So for our first reading this month, we will be reading Frog and Toad Are Friends. Has anybody ever heard of that story or the series of stories? We have a couple of yeses and a couple of no's. So I'm really excited to read the story to you. And then later on, we're going to be doing a activity where we're going to be drawing animals. So all you'll need is a piece of paper and something to draw with. Okay, and Miss Lindsay will be leading that activity. Perfect. I see Maya is already prepared. So without further ado, everybody knows me, right? I'm Miss Sarah. I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm going to read the story. So Frog and Toad Are Friends is a series of books written and illustrated by Arnold Lobel. So I'm going to share screen. And we are going to read, there are a series of different stories. So we're just going to read one of the stories out of all of the different ones. Okay. So the name of the story that we're going to be reading today is called The Letter. So Toad was sitting on his front porch. Frog came along and said, "What is the matter, Toad? You are looking sad." "Yes," said Toad, "this is my sad time of the day. It is the time when I wait for mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy." "Why is that?" asked Frog. "Because I never get any mail," said Toad. "Not ever?" asked Frog. "No, never," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That is why waiting for the mail is a sad time for me." Frog and Toad sat on the porch, feeling sad together. Then Frog said, "I have to go home now, Toad. There is something that I must do." And Frog hurried home. He found a pencil and a piece of paper, and he wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope. On the envelope, he wrote, "A letter for Toad." Frog ran out of his house. He saw a snail that he knew. "Snail," he said Frog, "please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox." "Sure," said the snail, "right away." Then Frog ran back to Toad's house. Toad was in bed, taking a nap. Toad, said Frog, "I think you should get up and wait for the mail some more." "No," said Toad. "I am tired of waiting for the mail." Frog looked out the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. "Toad," said Frog, "you never know when someone may send you a letter." "No, no," said Toad. "I do not think anyone will ever send me a letter." Frog looked out the window. The snail was not there yet. But Toad, said Frog, someone may send you a letter today. Don't be silly, said Toad. No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today. Frog looked out the window. The snail was still not there. Frog, why do you keep looking out the window? Said Toad. Because now I am waiting for the mail, said Frog. But there will not be any, said Toad. Oh, yes, there will, said Frog, because I have sent you a letter. You have? Said Toad. What did you write in the letter? Frog said. I wrote, dear Toad, I am glad that you are my best friend. Your best friend, Frog. Oh, said Toad, that makes a very good letter. Then Frog and Toad went out onto the porch to wait for the mail. They sat there, feeling happy together. That's a picture of Frog and the Toad hanging out, happy. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog. Toad was very pleased to have it. And that's the end of the story. Wasn't that cute? Have any of you ever had a friend who did something really kind for you like that? Cadence, do you want to share what that story might that story?
Yeah, once in school, I was getting bullied by a couple boys at my lunch table, and one of my best friends, Chloe, she came over and helped me out a little bit.
That's so nice. So thank you for sharing, Cadence. So I think that the story of Frog and the Toad is really about like friendship and the ways that, we can come together and help each other out even when we're feeling sad, right? That's a point of friendship, is that you watch out for each other and you care about one another. Okay, great. Miss Lindsay, do you want to lead us in our craft activity now?
I would love to. So I have to say that that is one of my favorite stories too. And I just love the way that that the artist and author, so the person who wrote that story also illustrated it too. And I just love the way that he illustrated Toad and Frog. I think they look so cute. And I think it's interesting that they still look like toads and frogs, but they also kind of look like people, which is fun. And so today I thought we might try to draw some animals together that are really kind of expressive. And I just love toads and frogs. When I was a kid, when I was your age, I used to find toads and frogs and catch them and catch tadpoles and watch them grow up into frogs. And so I was a kid that was obsessed. And even as an adult, I'm still obsessed with toads and frogs. And I'll give you a good little hint. If some of you live in places where you have basements and you have those little outdoor, they're kind of like little pits where the windows of your basement come out. Sometimes toads fall in there. And so you want to check them, especially during the summer when it's hot. Because if you see a toad in there, it might be trapped. It might have fallen in, and you can scoop it up very carefully and put it outside. And that's a good place. So I was, as a kid, and even as an adult still, when I walk by a basement and I see those window wells, I still peek down to see if there's a toad that might be stuck in there. So that's my little story. So toads are fun to draw. And I think that they're fairly easy. And I have to fix my background so you can see. I'm realizing you guys can't see my paper here. But does anybody know, if we were to look at a toad or a frog, first of all, what's the difference? Does anybody know what the difference between a toad and a frog is? Anybody?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, what do we think? I can tell you, but I want to know if somebody else knows, because I bet you we have some other frog and toad enthusiasts.
Cadence has her hand up.
Yeah, Cadence, what do you think?
I think toads are like slower.
I think you're probably right. In my experience, I think you're right. Any other thoughts between toads and frogs?
Isn't a toad like kind of like a turtle?
It's interesting, Miss Ayana. Toads and frogs are oftentimes found or toads and turtles rather are sometimes found together, and frogs too, because they go in and out of the water. But toads, the main difference is that toads are bumpier and they have drier skin. They don't typically live as much in the water. They start out in the water as tadpoles, just like frogs, but then when they become adults, they're pretty much just land animals. And you can even find toads in the desert where there's hardly any water at all. Whereas frogs, they need to be close to water and they have that smoother, slimier skin. But yeah, toads and frogs are a little bit different, especially with their skin. And you're right, Cadence, in that toads are usually slower. And so I'm going to start, it could be either one, but maybe I'll make a toad. And if I think about when I draw animals, guys, I like to think about the shapes, the general shapes of their bodies. Does anybody want to describe what a shape of a toad might look like? If you had to just break it down into a shape. Yeah, Miss Maya, I see Maya there with her hand. And Antonio, what were you going to say? What were you going to say, Antonio?
Seeing like a circle and like a circle for the face. And like Maya is showing that's the way of the body. And 2 legs and 2 arms.
Yeah, so I'm going to make like an oval. Can you guys see that? Is it perfect? No, it's wobbly.
Maybe you want to do that and maybe marker.
So that you guys can see it better. You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah, it's pretty light for us.
What I have here is a little bit of watercolor. Maybe I'll do it in watercolor. And then you guys will be able to see it a little bit better. But yeah, so I'm going to start, and you guys, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to make a toad. You don't have to make a frog, and it doesn't have to look like mine. Whatever you guys want, you can do. But I'm gonna, oh yeah, look, Miss Sarah just brought me a big marker. This is nice, a big fat marker. So I'm going to start with just a wobbly kind of oval. That's better, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect. And the best thing about toads is because they're bumpy and they're kind of squishy and blobby, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. In fact, if it's not perfect, that's even better. So this is going to be the body. And then I think I'm going to make a head, and their heads are kind of like squished and a little bit bumpy for the eyes, right? Like that. How's that? Good. And then they have these little feet that kind of come out like this.
This is how I'm doing mine.
Oh, I like that.
How it's like a bumpy and then another bumpy.
Yeah, there you go. And then you got to have those little short, they have these little short front legs, right? Because they do have 4 legs. Okay.
Yeah.
And then personally, when I see their eyes, to me at least, toads always look kind of sleepy or grouchy, right? Like a little bit angry. And then they have these mouths that just crack me up because look at this mouth. It doesn't matter. You can never tell if a toad is happy or sad because their mouths always look so angry, right? So that's how I make it. But you can make your toad happy. Why not? And then I've also noticed that sometimes they have these like little lips. And that also cracks me up. They got those little lips. And then they have little slits for noses. Yeah, they really are funny creatures to me. And so that's my basic shape, but now I'm gonna come in with a little bit of watercolor because I really like the skin that toads have. Now, what about the color, guys? Can you give me some advice on the color of a toad? What do you think? I'm gonna go with this. Kind of greenish brown, right? How's that? But they're more brown, aren't they? I'm kind of like, I'm doing some spots because they look like they have warts. Now, who can tell me, can you get warts from a toad?
What are warts?
Warts, they're like these little bumps that you can get on your skin. People can get them too. And sometimes they itch. And so people are always worried about like, I've heard lots of people say, oh my gosh, don't touch a toad because you're gonna get warts. You're gonna get these bumps all over your skin. What do you think? Is it true or false? Can you get warts from a toad?
False.
False. That's right, it is false. You cannot get warts from a toad. Some toads are poisonous, but they're really not poisonous to touch. We're just poisonous if you got them in your mouth. So for example, a lot of times dogs, if you have a dog and it finds a toad in the backyard, dogs aren't necessarily smart enough to know not to try to pick up a toad in their mouths. And so they'll try to pick a toad up in their mouths. Does anybody know what happens if your dog picks up a toad? Has anybody ever seen that happen before? Well, their mouths will get all foamy and they'll spit out the toad and they'll go, bah, bah, bah. And it's because the toad has poison. It's not necessarily going to kill your dog, but it won't taste good. And the toad squirts out that poison in the dog's mouth and it makes him spit it out. Yeah, Antonia.
In my school, I'm doing a research of pandas, and I'm gonna draw pandas.
Pandas?
Yeah, like giant.
Oh, I love that, Antonia. So you can tell us, see, I know a lot about toads, but I don't know a lot about pandas. So maybe you can share some of the research that you're doing on pandas.
I have a tab that everything that I have researched.
We can't really hear, you're kind of choppy there, Antonia, but we would love to hear some facts, some panda, hit us with some panda facts.
Okay, I have a tab when I have all the things about panda I have researched.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, that looks awesome, Miss Lindsay.
You know, I'm just trying to add some warty bumps here. And I wonder why, now that I'm adding these dots, I'm very curious as to know why toads have bumps. I don't know. That's maybe something that we could research. I don't know why.
Googling it right now.
Yeah, I had frogs as pets, not toads, but I had frogs as pets when I was little. And I just
Frog as a pet? Seriously?
Seriously.
Ew.
Oh no, I love them. I had 3. One was named Lily, one was named Ramon, and the other one, what was the other one's name? Oh, and I had more than 3. Now that I think about it, I had tons of frogs as pets. I had these things, you can order them. Your parents will maybe will regret my having said this, but you can order them online through a company called Grow a Frog, and they will ship them in the mail to your house with a little tank, and you get a live tadpole that you can grow into a frog. And the crazy thing about these frogs is that they live forever.
In the mail?
In the mail, but they come and you take care of them. And this is why your parents will regret or get mad at me for telling you this, but the frogs will live, like, I'm telling you, like 20 years. You can't get rid of these things. They just keep going. I had one for a very long time.
What I'm reading is that these warts are actually what contain like the poison.
Oh, there we go.
Or antibiotic compounds. There's actually
Antibiotic.
glands, these warts, that will
Like
secrete
glands.
poison if there's some kind of predator. And they're also what keep the skin slippery and moist. They
Okay.
make the mucus. Because mucus
Interesting.
is like the slippery, you know, when you pick up a frog or see a frog and it's like shiny.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, guys. How about that?
Yeah.
Now, also, I know that toads are pretty well camouflaged. Do you guys know what that word means? Anybody know? Yeah. Yeah, Antonia.
Camouflage means like the color could like seem like another color, like a plant could have the same color and he could go in the plant and they wouldn't notice him.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So he, even though this one, maybe I should give him a background and an environment to camouflage into. But you know, there's one part of him that I don't want to be camouflaged, because I want this to be a fancy toad. I want to brighten this toad up a little bit. So I'm going to give this toad some lipstick. What do you guys think? Right? Let's do his lips. Ooh, little shiny red mouth. Oh, that's looking good. Now, what do you guys think? Do you like that? Pucker up. He's good for kissing. What about kissing toads, right? There's like a lot about that, or frogs. What do you guys think? If you kiss a frog, do they turn into a prince? That's what a lot of stories say, right? Yeah, Antonia. Antonia says no. Do not. I tend to agree with you, Antonia. I think I'll give you. Don't do it, right? Especially now that we know that they have poison. Probably not the best idea. And I think the same can be said for frogs as well. Some frogs are poisonous, especially poison dart frogs. Has anybody ever heard of those before? Yeah, those are cool. I actually had a poison dart frog as a pet one time too, believe it or not.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With those frogs, are they poisonous as soon as you touch them?
The poison dart frogs?
Yeah.
They can be, yes. So you're probably wondering then, why, Miss Lindsay, would you have one as a pet? Well, friends, poison dart frogs get their poison from the ants that they eat. So their body they eat a bunch of ants, these special kind of fire ants.
Oh.
Their body makes poison from the ants.
Poison from the ants.
Poison from the ants. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. I like that, Maya. So
Thanks.
if you have a poison dart frog and you're not feeding it ants, these special kinds of ants that live in the jungle, then your poison dart frog will not be poisonous.
Oh.
I still wouldn't eat it, but you could touch it and it wouldn't be. So that's the kind I didn't have any access to jungle ants for it to eat, so mine was not poisonous, but it was very beautiful. I had a blue and black one. Maybe I'll draw that.
One. Yeah, that would look pretty.
Maybe I'll do that next. I'll draw him up here.
gonna color mine. Screen.
I didn't really like this, and I did. I'm gonna throw it in the garbage.
No, don't throw your work in the garbage.
Horrible panda.
Let me see. I think it looks great. It looks like a teddy bear, like a teddy bear panda.
I have a teddy bear. I draw teddy bear once, and we have it in the refrigerator. Okay, here it goes. Ah. Ah.
Does anybody else want to share their animal drawings? Ooh, that's so cute.
I drew it a
Mhm.
long time ago.
I've owned wasps before.
You've drawn wasps before?
Yeah, I just locked them in a metal door
Oh,
because they can kill you if
wasps
they
are
sting you too
scary.
much.
Yeah.
You know,
Very
once
interesting.
I've got like a bug bite, bug bites. I've got one and it's like was on my like here and it was a big bubble. I had them
Wow.
twice. It hurted for like days.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happened. I think it was like a wasp.
Yeah, we all react differently, right? To different kinds of bugs.
My toad with a tongue coming out of its mouth because it eats bugs.
They
And now
used to
that's-
try flies around it.
Yes. I'm gonna take
So that's a good point. That's why we should love, even if you don't want one as a pet, why is it important to have toads around and frogs around? What do you think?
I'm gonna do a panda with boots.
With boots?
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, that's a good point, Miss Sarah, that frogs and toads are really important to the ecology because they eat bugs. And who likes mosquitoes? Anybody? Do we have any mosquito likers?
Not
I do.
Nope.
Yeah.
They bite me
Cadence,
the
do you like
most.
mosquitoes?
They bite me
Why
the
do you-
most.
Why do you like mosquitoes, Cadence? I'm curious.
They're interesting.
Oh.
I like that, Cadence.
I like mosquitoes because I like bugs with poison or that can kill you.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So toads and frogs, they like mosquitoes for sure. And so that's why we want to keep them around because we don't want to get eaten by them, right? Okay, guys, I
With
tried
the
to.
bugs,
Wait. Now that I remember, I once destroyed a panda.
It's awesome, Miss Lindsay.
Thank you. This looks like what my poison dart frog looked like.
Antonia froze on us.
Does anybody else want to share their frogs before we wrap up?
You can see mine.
Yes, Maya, that looks great.
Very
Cadence, you want
nice.
to share?
Mine is still coloring.
Wait.
Yeah.
I'm gonna better draw another animal. Draw a panda.
Oh, I love that panda.
Well, his big eyes.
And Antonia, I can see you put some bamboo in his environment. Is that what that is?
That's bamboo.
I love it.
Why is it an echo?
I know it is echoey, isn't it? Yeah, Cadence.
Let's see if it works.
I didn't necessarily draw a frog or a toad, but I drew a dolphin.
Ooh, I love a dolphin. They're very nice.
One of my favorite animals after otters.
Can you give us any dolphin facts, Cadence? Do you know of any?
Dolphin facts. Dolphins use silent to us but loud to them echoes in the water to communicate with other dolphins.
Very cool.
I
Does
know
anybody
facts
know what a toad sounds like?
Ribbit.
Ooh,
I know lots of facts about bees.
let's hear them.
Bees make honey. Bees, bees can also make soap from their beeswax.
Oh, yeah.
Bees eat stuff called a brook food from a little bug into a cocoon and then into a fully grown bee. If they don't eat too much, they'll become a little bee. Not a bee.
Interesting. Wow,
And
that's
they're stuff as drone bees.
That's cool. I like hearing that. Yeah, I like bees too. Does anybody know how toads and frogs drink? Do you think they drink out of a straw or a glass?
I think they can't not drink up with a straw.
Do you know what they do to drink? They drink with their bodies.
Straws are only for humans.
That's right. A toad and a frog could not use a straw. It doesn't even use its mouth to drink. They just drink through their bodies. They're like sponges. They soak up the water and that's how they drink.
That is so cool.
You want to know one more fun, weird fact? Toads and frogs, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's both of them, but definitely toads. In order to swallow, they use their eyeballs.
Whoa!
Yeah, so pretend you're a toad and you have like a piece of food, whatever you want. You put it in your mouth and you can't just swallow it. You have to actually close your eyes and use your muscles to push your eyes down, and then those eyeballs push down on the food and they make you swallow. That's how toads and frogs eat.
That's
Terrifying.
disgusting.
They use their eyeballs to swallow. So if you ever are lucky enough to see a toad or a frog eat, you're going to see it close its eyes and do that. So next time you guys are eating, you can pretend to be a toad and a frog and you can close your eyes and eat. And your parents will say, why do you keep closing your eyes every time you swallow? And you say, oh, I'm a frog or a toad. I'm just practicing that.
So cute, Maya.
Oh, but I have a question. In the process of them swallowing something, will their eyes get lost?
So that's a good question. That would be bad if their eyes went all the way down and they swallowed their eyeballs. I don't think so. I think their eyeballs are still attached, so they pop right back up, but they actually use their eyeballs to push the food down.
Okay.
Good question.
Um,
Does anybody have any other toad or frog questions before we end? I'll try to answer them as best as I can.
Wait, I'm gonna say a fact of the panda.
Ooh, please, yes.
This is super gross. That the pandas, when they're little, they have to eat their mom's poop.
Ew, gross.
Same with koalas. Same with koalas.
Oh,
They have to get
man.
the nutrients. Ooh, this leads me to another fact. Colossal,
Gross.
I think colossal squids eat their parents and other stuff.
Good thing that we're not squids. Yeah, thank you. Cadence, yeah, one more.
What was I gonna say?
You forgot?
I think I'll think of
okay. This is great, everyone. Did you remember Cadence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you share my invention that I'm doing for my G&T project?
Sure. You want to show us? Go ahead.
So I had to make an amusement park ride. So instead I just made one out of Legos. It's sort of like a little waterfall. It's like I attach my little brother's Lego bin to a piece of string in a chair. Then you take this, it has a wheel on it that is able to attach to the string. And when I figure out how to make it roll, it'll attach to the string and it'll roll down the line all the way to the chair.
I love it.
I just gotta figure out how to make it actually roll.
It actually
Maybe-
looks like a zip
What kind of
line.
dog is that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Cadence, maybe you can get your dogs involved in the project.
Oh
Looks
yeah,
like
my dog.
Olive, right? The back
My
of
dog
Olive?
is a little too lazy to do that.
Oh,
Oh.
That's Seamus, and then Molly. Molly, come here. And then this is Molly. Molly,
Oh.
say
Oh, hey, Mom.
aw, they're very sweet.
hi. She's my alpha.
Oh,
They're very nice. Tell them stay away from toads.
Yes.
They don't like toads.
aw.
They chase squirrels.
That's good. They're smart. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. This was so much fun. It's not every day that I get to talk about frogs and toads.
Thank you so much, Miss Lindsay. You did a wonderful job. I learned so much today. Well, I hope that you all can join us next week as we continue to go through Pride Month. Next week, we'll be reading Harriet Gets Carried Away. And we have a really special activity planned for next week where we'll actually be playing like dress up. Actually, for the 2 weeks, so next week and the week after, we'll be dressing up in our favorite like costumes, our favorite characters. So you have a whole week to think about this. The reason that we're dressing up is because Harriet loves to dress up in the story. So if there's a specific character that you like to be, or if you just want to like dress up, I know Antonia, today you're wearing like a silly headband with flowers. Please feel free to dress up and wear your cutest or your most outlandish outfits we want to see, because part of our activity next week is going to be to share your outfits and tell us why you chose to wear that. Yeah, and so that will be next Wednesday at 4 p.m. With a different link. Okay, and thank you so much everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Okay. All right, everyone. We'll have a wonderful week and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone. Happy Pride.